Who is the front court of the future for the Cavaliers? That is the number one question of the whole season for the Cavaliers. And some people will say, "Oh, the identity is the most important question." Well, you kind of figure out what your identity is going to be by who your star player is. And right now, they clearly want their star player to be a guard or a wing player. That is how it seems to be. To go with the trend of the NBA, the most dominant players in the league right now out is either a really talented 7-footer who plays center or a wingman or a point guard. As I was looking at this team, going into what they're going to do for the front court. As I'm looking at this team and as I'm reading things and I'm analyzing and, I'm comparing my thoughts to what's being said and what's coming out of the organization. I look at the idea of, okay, Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, and Isaac Okoro would be nice. And I say it would be nice because if you look at the common trends between teams that run two smaller guards, they usually never have an explosive wing. They usually have some type of nice big man, but they usually never have an explosive wing. So this works in the Cavs' favor or Garland and Sexton's favor because they have a core, all right? Those teams don't usually have an off-ball great shooter. But you have that in potentially Windler. And to be honest, I feel like you got that in Chetty too. So now I feel like the Cavs should build around the wings. They should identify a 2-guard to pair with Isaac Okoro, and they run it like that. Now I have some suggestions. I have a few suggestions. Okay, I'm playing around with the NBA trade things, and I'm looking at what we can get for Love and Drummond, right? And I'm bringing this up because the front court of the future matters, but I really feel like it depends on who they are building the team around in the backcourt and on the wings. Right? I feel like that is a really, really important thing to figure out. Now, Kevin Love and Andre Drummond have trade value. Andre Drummond's trade value can only go up, and it will only go down, Lord forbid, something happens, unfortunate or random. Kevin Love has really been sitting for the last couple years for the most part, so he should come in refreshed, rejuvenized, and ready to ball. Those two make a formidable duo, but not in this NBA, because in this NBA you got to be able to run, you got to be able to do a lot of different things, do a lot of different switching, and Love is a defensive liability and Drummond is an offensive liability. So they offset each other, but with the team they have, I don't really know how that's going to work long term. For this year, they'll be a little exciting. They'll make some noise. Everybody increase their trade value. But who is the future of the front court? It's not JaVale McGee. All right? It's not Andre Drummond because I don't think he wants it. And it's not Kevin Love because I'm sure Love wants to go to a right now contender. That only leaves Larry Nance Jr. and Thon Maker. Now, you could get off with them for a year like that. Larry Nance Jr. steadily has improved. Shot has improved. Rebounding has improved. His defensive tenacity and being able to switch has improved. And he's only like 27. He's also locked in for another 3-4 years. So is Chetty, who's locked in for another 3-4 years. So, but who is the front court of the future? Now, it's some guys out there that I really, really think can come in and fit with this team. All right, but as the big man rotation goes right now for the Cavaliers, it's really good and it's really sound. If Love would, restructure his deal, he still get money and just take a little less to give us some flexibility, that'll be fire. You know what I'm saying? If Drummond would want to extend and stay long term, not for $28 million a year, but maybe for 25, maybe for 22, I will be with that. But them two don't leave a lot of cap flexibility to help be able to improve the team. I do like them. I do feel like the Cavs have one of the best big man rotations in the league right now, and that will really help them for having a really young team. I don't know how that will bode well for them contending for a championship, even though I feel like Drummond could be a vital piece on the championship team, and Love has already showed that he could be at least the third option on the championship team. But the rest, like I say, the backcourt, the wings got to show who's the number one option and number two option scorers to make Love a third scorer, and to make Drummond a defensive stalwart that get his off hustle. Those questions got to be answered. I played around with a few. I like Aaron Gordon. I'm pretty sure they want to move Aaron Gordon. I feel like Kevin Love fits over there. I could see Aaron Gordon and Fareed Aminu being traded for Love with draft and cash compensations kind of going back and forth, maybe pick swaps or something like that. And I just say that because I'm pretty sure Orlando wants to contend right now. They've been on the brink and knocking on the door and been making a little noise for the last 3 years now. I'm pretty sure they want to take that next step, get to a second round, Eastern Conference Final. They want to do something. There's also been rumors that the Indiana Pacers might want to pair Kevin Love with Domantas Sabonis. And they are talking about willing to give up Miles Turner and Jeremy Lamb. Now, when it comes to these players, Aaron Gordon, I feel like he fits at the 4, an explosive defensive guy who can get buckets. He's maybe not the leading scorer, but he'll be consistent. He'll definitely get you a double-double, especially if you got a big man down there that could, allow him to roam freely. So if you was able to trade Love and pair Aaron Gordon with Drummond, I think Drummond would definitely stay. I actually think Drummond really kind of wants to stay because he know he could be the top player on this team, a leader for a team with an actual direction. But Cleveland, just as an organization, as a city, just has a bad reputation that probably leaves a lot of stains in players' mouths. And it's not like it's a lot to do in the city of Cleveland, state of Ohio, as of playing in the big market and having beaches and casinos and all that. But Cleveland is building. And at some point, people can invest and make Cleveland look a little better than what it's been looking so far. But I like that. I like Miles Turner because Miles Turner versatility fits today's NBA as a big man who can protect the rim, pick and roll, and stretch the floor. I like him a lot. Look, if I could trade Love to one and Drummond to the other and get them both, I would. In that time, I would definitely be looking to try to get the third team or fourth team involved and try to move Lamb and Aminu somewhere else for something else. I would definitely be trying to move Dante Exum's contract and Dellavedova. But I'm going to tell you, one thing that I said was Caris LeVert from the Nets showed a lot of promise. And I did a sample a trade that suggested that we could trade Cedi Osman and Dante Exum because both of their contracts line up. They play good roles and they have length to put around KD and the Nets. And we probably have to offer up a future pick, but I feel like we can get Caris LeVert. And I honestly like Caris LeVert with Isaac Okoro as wings of the future. Just because LeVert has already proven himself. And you gotta get your building blocks, man. You can never have enough talent, but the Cavs have to figure out who's the front court of the future. And I feel like the backcourt is going to dictate who in the front court, you know what I'm saying, and who will be the front court of the future. So, we're going to see. The Cavaliers are rumored to still want to start Garland and Sexton in the backcourt. I think this is a mistake. Even though after reading a few articles and just seeing the things that's been transpiring in the last few weeks with the Cavaliers and the players, I understand why they want to do that this year. I mean, this is 1 year that they can actually kind of experiment with lineups and do things, because regardless of the players that they have on their team and the questions they have for them, they still have big question marks about players that they haven't even received yet. So team depth is very vital in today's NBA. I mean, you could never have enough high-level talent available to win a championship. And I understand that both Garland and Sexton are top 10 picks. And, outright one should, you got to play them both. In my opinion, they might have a floor of Van Fleet and Lowry. They could have a ceiling of Dame Lillard and CJ McCullough. Like, it really just depends how they're developed, how they're used, what's the long-term plan for them. But I feel like the Cavs have enough ball handlers with good size on the wings to where one can start and the other one can come off the bench. And it's really about playing time. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really about playing time. So, who could earn the playing time? They're both undersized, all right? Sexton, 6'1", like 205. He a tireless worker, man. He excels at penetrating the defense and finishing at the rim, whether it be off the dribble or off the ball. His outside shot is steadily improving, and he has the tools, athleticism, and instincts-wise to be an effective defender. But can Sexton run an NBA offense? That is what he will need to add to his game to command the lead guard position. Now, he really plays like a two. He's a scorer, you know what I mean? But he doesn't have the size to be that, or he has to have an exceptional offensive skill set, all right? Even Allen Iverson, Allen Iverson was littler than that, and he played the two guard. But Allen Iverson was very quick. He could steal, play the passing lanes, pick your pocket if you weren't paying attention, and he was faster than everybody on the floor. On top of he was lightweight, probably athletic more than everybody on the floor, even though he was little and he probably didn't weigh a whole lot. But, when you're an undersized scoring guard, you have to bring more to the table. And in today's NBA, you have, the ideal size guards who have the skill sets of Iverson-esque types. Okay, so it's hard. But you got to let the man play. You got to see how he's going to do it. Now, Darius Garland has a dangerous outside jumper, and he has a lot of range. He is an instinctive distributor and has a crazy ball handle. But can he defend effectively? I mean, can he score consistently night in and out to be considered a legit threat? All right? Garland has more size. He's about 6'3", about 190. So he has the ideal size to play lead guard and be able to be two-way. His ability to shoot deep, that is a hell of a quality. And he has a pass-first instinct. So that's cool. But last season, Garland wasn't aggressive. He didn't really show a lot of flashes to the end of the season about what he could become. But during this offseason and this mini camp and the little times they've been able to get together, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of praise about his focus, his conditioning, his confidence, the way he's playing. So, like I say, I think starting them two would be a mistake long term. For this year, though, until you figure out answer a few other questions, I'm not necessarily knocking it. If both of these guys come in and they play like top 10 picks, a 8 and 5 pick respectively, then this could change the whole dynamic of what the Cavs are about to do. But I don't want them to do that. All right, I don't want the Cavs to be suckered in to another 1-year sensation. When let's just say both of these guys manage to put up 20 points a game and give you 5 assists, but we still, it's a 72-game season and we still don't get 500. Then I can't put a lot of stock in that. But what I can put a lot of stock in is y'all both come to produce. And if it was me, I would be keeping you both long term to secure my point guard position. Period. I need my point guard position solidified, and I need more than one good point guard to be able to last in this league. All right, but if you got 2 point guards who can at least get you 5, 6, 7 assists a game, they can give you at least 15 to 20 points every night, then listen, that can go a long way depending on what the other skill sets of your team is. All right, that's just one piece of the whole equation. So the next question is, who starts at the 2 guard? Now, the organization has been very expressive about wanting Kevin Porter Jr. to take over that role. But Kevin Porter Jr. is probably going to have a little more stagnation to his growth. Right now, he has an issue with Cleveland law enforcement for a few particular situations. So it is safe to assume that he may not get a lot of playing time to start the year. But as the year progresses, he'll be part of the rotation. Initially, I said that the competition should be between Porter Jr., Dylan Winter, and Cedi Osman. But listening to Coach Bickerstaff, he expressed how the competition at small forward is between Isaac Okoro, Cedi Osman, and Dylan Windler. With that being said, that means the competition for the 2 guard is a whole different type of competition, which means there really is no competition. And that's why I say that. Kevin Porter Jr. is slated to be the 2 guard behind Colin Sexton. Darius Garland is scheduled to be the point. So Garland and Sexton with whoever wins the 3 role, then it's Love and Drummond. Ideally, they would want Isaac Okoro to win this competition. Will he win this competition? It's very possible. Cedi been here a long time. He ain't really stood out yet, but I think this is a good season for him to stand out, especially since Chedi's only 24. So he's just not what would be entering close to his prime or the beginning of his prime. So let's see. But this really tells me that it's about the bench. The Cavs really know who their rotation players are. That's interesting. But I guess I kind of like it. Rotation players would be Dellavedova, Dante Exum, Damyean, Dotson. Whoever loses the competition at the small forward position. Then Larry Nance Jr. and JaVale McGee. I think the Cavs are really trying to figure out who they should build the team around, who shows that they're worth being franchise player and worth franchise player type money. Now, the good thing about this to me is that not only are the guys that you are molding young and they're only most likely going to get better, but even if some don't peak out to what you want them to be, they can still serve as positive, important players to a future contending team. So, I don't want Cleveland to feel like, because this guy's shining, we got to mortgage this guy. Or because this guy's stepping up, we got to move this guy. No. All of these guys are under contract for another few years. The only person you really got to worry about re-signing is Colin. And in my opinion, you should re-sign Colin. Colin should at least get a $80 or $90 million deal. Unless he turns it up this year and shows that he's worth more than that. But until he put up more than that numbers and stats, the collective bargaining agreement says what it says. But So this 2 guard position, this whole backcourt thing with the Cavs is going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be fun to watch because I feel like all of these players bring excitement to the floor. And being that they're playing with a veteran front court, it should make the transition to learning how to play and win a little easier. Now, another thing that I have to praise the organization about is its commitment to development. Cleveland as an organization in any sport, but we're specifically talking about the Cavs right now, has a bad farm system. Like, us having players that grow in the system, learn in the system, eventually become starters from molding their talents of years of being around and helping set in the climate, the winning attitude. You didn't do that. It's always about immediate gratification. What can you do for me now? What will you do for me now? When you going to do it for me? How much of it you going to do for me? You got to build stuff up, and this all take a process. So I really commend them for making, not only having veterans in who know how to win, but also bringing in guys who are going to compete with these young guys and push their games to the next level. You know, steel sharpens steel. If you want players to get better, they have to know that they're playing for something, fighting for something, and they have to be fighting like cats and dogs every day in practice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got to push them to their limits all the time, so it just becomes repetitive. And then in the games, they being so used to pushing to their limit in practice, then in the games, that's what they gonna do. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So the backcourt situation with the Cavs will be one to look at, and I feel like it will determine what type of front court of the future that the Cavs will be investing in, which is the most important question of the entire season, if you ask me. Now, regardless of what I think the Cavs should do and how I think the organization should handle things, they're going to do what they see fit. I believe they're going to build around who proves to be the best players and the most consistent. I think those players will end up being all the rookies. I ain't going to lie. I think Sexton, Garland, Windler, and Kevin Porter Jr. will all evolve. I think the one that will least evolve is Kevin Porter, just because I feel like he has to gain a certain maturity in order to play consistently. But I feel like Windler, Sexton, and Garland will definitely state their claims this year as being building blocks of the future. Isaac Okoro will prove to be more than just a defensive stalwart. He'll probably prove to be arguably one of the best draft picks in this year's draft. I do think that Drummond gets traded. Where does Drummond get traded? Who knows? I mean, ultimately the Cavs will probably, worst case scenario, trade him because they don't want to not get nothing for him. All right. You know how the NBA season goes. Things get to happening, trades get to happening. Somebody's going to need a big man to help protect the rim so they can contend for a championship. Especially with, it being some of the good, big, skilled big men in the league. Andre Drummond will make a great pairing with some big, dominant big man to help them make noise. I also think Kevin Love gets traded this year. Just because so many teams are ready to contend and so many owners are not really tripping about spending that money just because of what contending brings them in revenue and spotlight and all that. So I think that happens. For what players they get traded for, that's a whole different conversation. Record-wise, I think... Now, listen. In saying those things, too, before I go to the record-wise, I think, too, though, it's more than a good chance that if Love gets traded first, Drummond re-signs long-term. I honestly feel that. You know what I'm saying? Really, what Love has to do is come in and show that he can still ball. If Love comes out and then in the first 10 games he's averaging 25 and 12 or some shit like that. He pull up a 30, 40-point night. His trade value is going to skyrocket. All right? His trade value is going to skyrocket exponentially. And at that point, he'll become a hot commodity for the Cavs to trade. So, you know, a lot of us Cavaliers fans and hopefuls, that's what we waiting for. We want Love to come in here and show his ass so we can get his ass up out of here. And it ain't, and you know, I don't say that because we don't like Love, man. Love came in and he played and he did his thing and he helped us become a great team. But, dude, Love don't fit what we trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Unless magically one of these cats come out and just show that they can ball in this league, you know what I'm saying? If we get the Tyler Hero effect or the Dame Lillard effect, then yeah, hey, it's going down. All right, but realistically, you know, the Cavs won't be contending for no titles this year. And if they play good up to their potential, they could possibly be in the play-in tournament or at least be in conversations to almost be in the play-in tournament. And that's just being realistic because the Eastern Conference is loaded, and we already know what the Western Conference get. And the Western Conference and Eastern Conference got stars that was out last year, returning this year, ready to prove something. So, the Cavs, like I say, I think Colin will improve. I think he'll put up 20 this year, maybe even 25. I think Darius Garland improves. I think Darius Garland might be an 18-8 guy this year. I think Love becomes as a 20-10 guy. I think Drummond is the 15-15 guy. But I think ultimately the Achilles heel would be player usage. At some point, it's going to be too many people playing too well to play everybody at the same time, and they're going to have to make moves. But this is why I say, you know, Dan Gilbert had already came out and said, you know, he don't mind kicking out the money if they spend it on something that's going to help the team contend, not just now, but now and later. So, you know, Kobe Altman has been pretty savvy so far. He hasn't made a lot of crazy decisions. I think he's done a pretty good job working with what he's had and the positions he's been in. So let's see. You know, let's see if Kevin Love becomes comeback player of the year. If Colin Sexton becomes most improved player of the year, or I should say Darius Garland becomes most improved player of the year. Can Colin Sexton become an all-star? Can Drummond be an all-star? Realistically, 72-game season, looking at what everything's going on, I mean, it's not far-fetched to say the Cavs could end up 30-42. Some people will call 30-42 a ceiling, but I think that's closer towards worst-case scenario. I think worst-case scenario, they win 25 games. But I'm sliding them for 30. I'm sliding them for 30, man. Call me crazy. I'm giving the Cavs 30 wins. I just feel like everybody on the team is going to play with a lot more hunger and desire. You know, unfortunately, certain things happen during the season you cannot control, and that leaves guys in positions to shine more and show that they can play more. You know, so we'll see how that part of the game plays out. But ultimately, the Cavs are in a good position. But they need to figure out the front court of the future. What they have right now is good enough to compete and to be able to just implement the system that JB Bickerstaff wants to put down and gives Kobe Altman a little more space to see where he needs to improve the team. But I first think their number one question is to figure out who are they building the team around. Who are you building a team around? Who? Is it Colin and Isaac? Is it the wing position? Is it the guard position? People do that. They build around a position. You know, so we'll see. We'll see.
All right. There are a lot more interesting and insightful things I want to discuss with you all,
So take the time out right now for me to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, or dislike. Leave some feedback in the comment section and be ready to watch the next episode of Game Changer Sports Talk live from the marvelous Hollywood Studios on the Goonie Tunes channel.